Okay, I want to talk about traditional recipes. Okay, that were they're written before the internet. They would have the instructions. First they would have the ingredients, then they would have um, the instructions, and then at the very bottom of the recipe, it would have serving instructions, and it would always say like best served very hot, if it was necessary, right? It would say best served cold, best served with hot drink, or best served with uh, with soup, right? It would say best served and give some advice about how to serve something. Okay, so um, we have this in our head, this phrase best served cold, best served hot, right? So I'm going to show you some examples of foods that are best served cold. And this is just going to give you an idea of where this phrase came from. Best served hot, best served cold. Okay. So, um, food and drink. Okay. So let's go. Okay. A martini is best served very cold. You don't really, it just sort of like makes it better if you've got it very cold. All right. Now, this is giving a list of things that you want to have it really cold, right? Maybe this, some people would say this is salad. You like some salads, you don't want to let them get to be room temperature. Egg salad sandwich, it could be okay, uh, but some people would like to have it cold. But definitely, I think that potato salad tastes better when it's very cold. For me, beer is definitely better when it's cold. Um, uh, Sushi, you don't want to have room temperature sushi. It's just, I mean, it's okay, but it's like we're talking about how it's the best, right? Certain times, kinds of soup, right? Obviously, ice cream, is going to be best served cold. Uh, these drinks, are going to be best served cold. Okay. But that's where we come to this idiom. Revenge is best served cold, right? And it's a kind of, when they say cold, they're talking about it being a delay before you get the revenge. So, you know, uh, so 12 dishes best served cold like revenge. And they're talking about this idiom. All right. So, I want to talk about some foods that are best served hot. Okay. Fried eggs. Nobody likes cold eggs, or at least I don't. I think they're best served hot. We've got udon and soba. I think that we have a style like this that you can have it hot or cold, but you don't want to eat this cold. it just it ain't gonna work, right? It's gonna be terrible. All right. So what? Let's get me back here. Okay. So this is a very old expression, right? And it was made famous by this character. His name is Don Vito Corleone, and he was a fictional character in a book called The Godfather. And then they made a movie out of it. But he didn't actually say that expression in the movie. All right. So, uh, but he said it in the book. And it's really a super cool expression, one of my favorite expressions. I'd never heard this until I was an adult, actually. And I think it sounds pretty cool. All right. So, when they say served cold, they're talking about a food dish. If it's hot and you wait a while, it's going to get cold. Okay? So, what they're trying to say is there's revenge is a dish best served cold, which means it's cooler and better to wait a while before you get revenge. And you can imagine the reasons why, you know. So I'm going to give you some reasons. Let me get this up here. Okay, so why is revenge best served cold? Okay. First of all, you wanted, according to this idiom, I'm not giving you any advice, okay, about taking revenge. I'm just trying to explain the idiom. All right. Why? Well, because the person you want to take revenge on, in order to take revenge, somebody must have done something bad to you. So if they did something bad to you, they're going to be ready for you to counterattack. If you know, that in the immediate time, right, they're going to be prepared for you to do a counterattack. But after you wait a while, they're no longer going to be on their guard. They're going to think, oh, I guess she just let me get away with it, and so they're no longer going to be able to protect themselves, right? They're not going to be watching out for it, right? So let's say recently, uh, like a famous guy was killed. His plane was shot down, and uh, they waited a while before they shot it down. Now a lot of people are blaming Putin. I don't know if it was him or if it was could have been the other some other people in the military. This is a Russian thing, but they waited a while, right? So that this guy was no longer on his guard. He was probably on his guard for a while. Somebody wanted him dead. I don't know, but for a while he was probably really on guard, and then people start to relax. Okay, so let's say, for example, you're, uh, you know, your company does something to you, does something dirty to you, right? They're going to be on their guard, waiting for you to counterattack. But if you just play it cool, then they're not going to be ready. And then after you quit that company, you write something, like they've got these things where you can rank your company and make a comment about them. You know, you can do that. Okay. Or let's say, for example, you get terrible customer service, right? If you wait a few months, it's kind of like before you write your comment, like on Google Maps or whatever, before you write your comment, they're not going to know who wrote it, right? Or like, let's say you had a bad experience at your gym. I'm just making these up just as I go. You had a bad experience at your gym, right? But you want to stay at that gym, okay? And so if you wait a few months or even a year or a couple of years, right? As I have done, they're not going to know who it was, right? So they're not going to be able to like counterattack you, right? So like I had a gym that like didn't give me a receipt for paying my fee, right? And then later on they said, well, you didn't pay it. So anyway, I let this go, right? And so over a year later, then I wrote they don't give you a receipt, right? So, uh, anyway, so let's go back to my list here that I'm going to talk about reasons. Okay, and they're just not going to know who did it. Also, let's say, for example, you you don't want to look like the thing that they did bothered you that much. So let's say, for example, if your girlfriend is flirting with another guy or something like that, or even went out with another guy, if you act all crazy, then they're going to know, they're going to get the satisfaction of knowing that they got to you, right? And then they're living inside your head rent free, right? Anyway, also, this happens a lot on the internet. Like people make comments towards each other, and people are arguing on the internet, and sometimes you just got to play it cool, you know. Then it act like it didn't really bother you, you know, and then maybe come back with something later or just block them, you know. Um, so there are certain times when you don't want to act like something really bothered you. So remember when uh, Will Smith smacked Chris Rock? I should have looked that video up. I forgot. I had a lot of things to do to prepare for this video. All right. Will Smith uh, smacked Chris Rock. But Chris Rock had to play it cool because he had to finish his job, right? And he had to, not, start like getting upset. He just had to play it cool. And then he waited. And when the media tried to talk to him, he didn't really, he didn't get angry and start moaning because he wanted to not really act like it bothered him and got to him too much. Then maybe, I don't know, it was maybe up to a year later. It was a while later than during his comedy special. He talked about it because he wanted to wait for the right time where he could benefit the most from taking revenge, and how he took revenge was just to make a joke out of it, right? So anyway, there's a lot of reasons. Okay, let me get to the rest of these reasons. So reason 3, you want to play it cool and wait for the right time. Because let's say if you're in the mafia or something like that and you got to go kill somebody, you can't be too hasty. You need to plan it. And you have to play it cool. I just remembered one revenge example. This is a true story that I read about, and I think it was on YouTube. Oh my gosh, this is back when YouTube was really good. This woman had cheated on her fiance, right? And somehow he got like photos. He got photos of it, right? Maybe it was like, I don't know how he got it, but it was like her in super embarrassing situations, right? And so he just didn't act like he knew it, right? He didn't act like it was something he was aware of. And then she was doing this a lot, right? And so they got up to the on the wedding day, right? And they before the ceremony, he stands up and he says, well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming today. And I just want to let you know that part of our ceremony is that I left all of you present, and it's under your chair, right? And under the chair was an envelope, and it was pictures of her in this compromising situation, right? In this embarrassing situation with that other guy, right? And then he just like walked off and canceled the whole ceremony and walked off and left her at the altar, right? And her family was there, and obviously he had a very good reason to not marry her, right? And so it was like these photos, right, of her cheating on him, right? And so what he did was uh, he played it cool to wait for the optimal time. Okay, in the case of this Don Corleone, Don Corleone, uh, like let's say for example, if they go kill somebody, right? Because he's a mafia guy. If they go kill somebody, immediately after the other, like his enemy, immediately after his enemy does something bad to him, then the cops know who who did it, right? It's so obvious, right? Because they go to the his enemy and they say, "Do you have any reason to, why somebody might not like you?" Right? Or it might even be a famous thing, right? So then the cops know exactly who did it. Okay. All right. So that guy played it cool and he waited for the right time. Okay. And you, here we go, it's the same kind of thing. You want to make them think they got away with mistreating you. And so they get this kind of arrogance, this kind of thing where, ha ha ha, I got away with it. And, you know, they get this satisfied feeling and they think they punked you. They made you look like a punk and a weak person and a pushover, right? So, okay. And so the surprise of the whole thing, of the revenge, adds to the impact of the revenge. And you can't do that if you did it. You can't surprise them if you immediately take revenge because they're not surprised. Okay. And as I said, it's much easier to deny that you did anything because you won't have the direct connection and motive should you want to take revenge covertly, means secretly, like on the internet, leave a bad review of a restaurant or, you know, your company or your employer or something like that. Or there's so many ways to take revenge, or you could do some, like a lot of people take revenge in a passive way, you know, like let's say a lot of people take revenge in a passive way, like let's say they just wait for the next time somebody needs a favor. That person comes to you for a favor and you say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I'm busy, I'm sorry I can't help you," because you have to keep this civil situation at work, so that's sometimes people get revenge in that way. And so in that sense it's better to do it, to wait some time, right, before you get your revenge, rather than to make it really obvious, that you're doing it out of revenge. And I think one of the most important reasons is because you want to play it cool, like they didn't get you, right? They didn't hurt you, like the guy that, like the guy with his fiance, or could be anything, like this situation where the plane got shot out of the sky. It's sort of like playing it cool for a while. Like, oh, okay, you gonna do that? Okay. Or like James Bond, for example, is always like getting this cool revenge, waiting for the right time, And so anyway, sometimes it's best to wait a while before you get revenge for those reasons that I just explained. One of the coolest idioms ever spoken, I think, and it's very true. I'm not encouraging you to go take sneaky revenge on people, um, but this is definitely a, a cool idiom. Okay, so I will talk to you on the next idiom.